it was like 2 hours of people doing Russian accents, like doing their Russian characters at a sketch show. Yes,
that's funny.
Really nice for you to say.
And then the bit where you just get in the film and be like, "What am I seeing? Is this Borat widow? My wife, she dead.
Very nice.
Very nice, not very nice. She dead. My wife.
I'm like a Captain America, but not."
This is beginning of phase 4, yes?
There's a lot of weight on this movie, right? Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, well, if James Brown was the godfather of soul, Marlon Brando the godfather of being the godfather, and Paul Weller the modfather, then surely my co-host can lay claim to the title of podfather. Welcome once again, my friend and yours, the podfather, Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm good. I'm a little bit shocked at such news that I'm called the podfather. Cue the gif of Kristen Bell being excited by sloths and overtaken. Such a hefty and lovely, sweet phrase to be used. I feel undeserving of such a title. But other than that, I'm quite good. How are you, Rich?
That's good to hear. I'm all right. I'm a little bit. I'm warding off the thought that I have got poorly at Hillsborough somehow. But
poorly.
I've got a low-level lurg working its way through my system. But not too bad.
It's a disease you've got. Is that you want to see them get it forward quickly, but also get it to the feet.
Yes. It was so infectious.
Well, I'm really looking forward to your analysis, and I can just turn you down a little bit. I mean, you'll do the editing, so you're going to have to turn yourself down a bit when you just start barking Gerrit forward repeatedly.
Oh, well, I'm very pleased to report that my friend from the first game at home this season was not there midweek. So,
nice.
Hopefully that's an indicator that it was just a passing tourist, a very annoying tourist.
Do you remember the games we really enjoyed where the shouty, sweary guy who was a bit in front of us in the North Stand wasn't there some weeks? And we're like, oh, God, it's just to breathe a sigh of relief. It's just
yes, definitely. It's funny the things that stick with you because I think early doors we also had some youths behind us at some point.
Some youths.
And I just remember in their breaking voices, Whelan! Just it still comes into my head occasionally, yelling at Glenn Whelan. But alas, by and large, I revel in the mutterings and utterings of the
experience of it. Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
it's a big part of what makes the game fun. And I think the most fun thing from that first game, remembering in retrospect, was there was a chant went up for Florian Camberry to the tune of Forestiere's song.
You mentioned,
and the confusion from lots of people around, because they like a lot of people don't keep up to the minute with every moment of supporting the every bit of news from the club. So like people figuring out who's who and which one's which was happening, and then at the same time there's this chant that they know sounding very, very similar to the one that they've done previously, and they know that guy's not there. But anyway, yeah, good fun. I think we've got a fair amount to get to, so I think without further ado,
breaking hoo-hoos.
Mm-hmm.
And I presume you shared the shock with me and many other people in the fan base when you found out that Andre Green was on his way to Slovan Bratislava. Yeah,
on his way to some European team I've not heard of on his way.
He's in a Champions League team list now, a Champions League squad list for them almost immediately.
Wow, they seem to make a big deal of signing him. They seem to be very excited on the socials. They captured Andre Green.
Yeah, it's hard to know what the tiering of. I think we all kind of. You can have a debate over where the Premier League is in the pantheon of the various countries' top leagues. But once you get down beyond probably like the big 5 or 6, I really couldn't tell you where, say, the Austrian Premier League comes in and things like that. So it's a bit hard to know what sort of level of football. Obviously, they are a Champions League team, but then there are the teams from the Welsh Premier League that play in the Champions League early stages. So yeah, I don't know where in the pecking order the Slovakian Premier League stands, but or the Fortuna Liga, sorry. But, yeah, I mean, how did you? Because we talked about him in a fair amount of detail last week, and you were fairly impressed with his work in that game.
Yeah, and I mean, to come from that, to just not having any presence in the squad whatsoever. I mean, I hindsight is 2020, so you do wonder now about how was there some kind of rumblings, and then maybe it took a little bit of time to mature. So maybe the mentality was to just leave him out the squad because he was on his way out the club. Maybe that was the situation, but it felt harsh at the time because him capturing his second start after a not particularly great start against Charlton made me wonder I don't know. I mean, that was the thing with, especially like the wide berth players. There's been a lot of, especially with Sal coming in quite late. I don't know if he's still getting up to speed with training and the pre-season. I don't know what type of pre-season he's had, and then probably coming into Wednesday, coming in from abroad. The element of probably having to quarantine now. We heard about Canberry straight out the house or apartment and into the fire, pretty much. That's the classic phrase, isn't it, in the pandemic?
Yeah, that's what we
always say. Corbeanu being ill and having an injection, which was strange. Did you see that?
I didn't see that. I didn't see the detail of the injection.
That did come up. We didn't hear the.
Oh, I think they said that he needed some antibiotics. I did see that. So maybe they were injected antibiotics, which is fairly heavy duty normally if you go to an injection of antibiotics.
Exactly. You would take something orally, right?
Yeah, generally.
No, I do like when you said I didn't see the breakdown of that. It made me think I want Darren Moore to give us a breakdown in the local media about how it happened. Yeah, they put the antibiotics in the syringe and put it into him.
They did the classic squeeze a little bit out at the end and then put it in his arm.
It was a bit disappointing it wasn't a sexy nurse giving it him.
The physio tried his best, to be fair, but at the end of the day, that sexual attraction's not there. What can you do?
Yeah. So that was the thing. We had all these kind of wing options or options for the prong of a front three, however you want to see this, however it kind of pans out.
Yeah.
And it's been like a really interesting kind of combination, I guess, including coming into Tuesday, which just to kind of leap forward quickly, we'll come back again. Denden played on one of the trident, on one of the spears on our Wednesday trident. That's
our very own Manden,
yeah, and then sea god Darren Moore, really prodding people with Wednesday's attack trident. So it's been interesting to see him kind of being missing or being present, and I wondered on the second occasion, like it was really an opportunity for him to kind of right his wrongs from that first game. And it also made me wonder because there's so many things we don't see and so many things we have to just guess at, unfortunately, until we get a bit of insight. And then how much insight's really just, Darren Moore playing his cards close to his chest and what he wants to divulge to us and what he doesn't want to divulge to us.
Yeah.
Wondered whether like Moore saw something in Green that we haven't kind of seen. I mean, we've heard he's a very talented player in his day. It just seems to be a kind of question of getting that out of him. He's had a little bit of a disappointing first half of his season, which was the second half of last season when he joined us. I don't know. It feels a little bit dissatisfying. Like it still felt that he's still a bit of an enigma. I don't think we've seen the best of him during his time, to be generous to him.
I think, yeah, that is being generous, because I don't think, he's in that bracket. Obviously, it happens younger for outfield players, but at 23, 24, this is very much make or break sort of time. And if you've not, I'm sure he himself would admit it's not been a great first however many years of his, he's barely shown anything in his first, in those 20, to get to the age of 23. Glimmers here and there, but mostly fairly disappointing, underwhelming performances. So maybe it was all going to turn around and this was the season where it was going to happen, but also there's a very good chance what you see is what you get. At some point you have to stop presuming there'll be there's a bright, hockey stick like upturn in form and fortune, and accept what your eyes and stats are telling you. It's an interesting one. I suppose. I think the thing is, there's been a lot of talk about the fact that this is a much more balanced squad, but I think we've even touched on when we were looking at the transfers when we saw So come in. We did look a bit overstacked in those wide areas. Once everybody's in and fit, because you've got to remember we've got sometime between now and Christmas we've got Windass coming back. He will presumably, if he's anywhere near top form, he would probably be first choice for left or right side of that trident.
Shadipo
and Shadipo's got previous in this division, he's had a tremendous bowl return, so you could see him being up there. And Darren Moore is sort of giddy with the thought of unleashing Corbeau on things. This week he's been highly praising him. So we've got more than the requisite 2 options per position there, and
lest we forget Rich's fave. Rich's favy wavy Marvin Johnson.
Favy wavy Marvin Johnson, exactly. Well, that's the thing, and then you've got players who have done a job there already this season. So
such as Brown and Dendan,
and Patterson.
Patterson, that's
for a period midweek, and then from the start in this weekend's game. So I sort of feels like an area where we were a bit we were a bit overburdened with numbers, and obviously there's interest come in for Green. For me, as you say, there's always that what if factor. Maybe he would have turned it round. There were some nice glimmers of things. He also won that penalty well during our run towards the end of last season. So despite the fact he didn't have huge shining performances, we did get the odd moment that stuck out for its quality. So maybe he puts all those things together and we have a wonderful year for him. But I believe he's only got one. Well, I'm not sure in terms of the number of years. Did we have him for, was it 2.5 years he signed for?
I think he signed for 18 months.
Right. So he's in.
So
he's
at the
in
end
the
of
last
this season
contract.
Yeah.
He's a bit of an unknown quantity still in some ways, particularly compared to some of the other options we've got. And if the interest is there, I think this is another positive sign that we're starting to behave like a rational, sensible football club, because it's an area where we've got more than we need. Somebody's shown an interest and given us offered us money, and the Andre Green project, from a Wednesday point of view, is we gave it a try for 6 months, weren't bowled over, but we've made some money because we signed him on a free. I've seen 6-figure sum mentioned a couple of places, so at the very least that means 100 grand from the from the project.
Wow.
So
I mean, I'm
not,
first going to say wow, and then secondly, I'm going to say wow in an Owen Wilson way. Wow.
So
not bad doing, is it?
No, exactly. I can't feel too bad about it, I don't think, because I'm still excited to see the additions we've got. We've got 3 players that have not kicked a ball in the league yet in that position.
I mean, and the 6-figure sum for Burner. If you look at that from a very selective snapshot, completely forgetting the rest of the history, we could almost say that, Papa Chan's folding his arms and saying this football lark's easy. It's just printing money, isn't he? When he's losing massive loads of money, but yeah.
Well, I was sort of musing. So my big moment personally of midweek was the first chance to sit and watch a football match with my sister at Hillsborough, which was rather nice to do after all this time. But one of the things we were musing on was whether Chansiri has had a reverse experience that the class of '92 people have had at Salford, because what they found at Salford is basically you spend more money and have less impact as you go up the leagues. And I think the difference between what you spend what you have to spend to be okay in the Championship to what you have to spend to be quite good in League One, I imagine is massively, massively different.
Yeah,
and he might be quite enjoying the fact that his resources go that bit further in this league.
I mean, also as the Wednesday memes, and I think even a flag was printed by some of the fans to show Chansiri's face imposed over Del Boy Trotter. You'd be thinking after those 2 sales, he'd be saying Kushti, wouldn't he?
Kushti, yeah.
He would. I'd love to see him say Kushti in his speak English as an ESL manner. I imagine it would get. No, I'm not going to do it because that would be pretty racist.
No, this is not.
I haven't been cancelled in a while, so it was tempting to dip my toe in the big old cancellation bath.
Interestingly, a man who has now been cancelled himself. Have you ever heard Thomas Middleditch did a character who he said basically he's like, there are children who get adopted to other countries, so you could potentially have a white child that was adopted by a Chinese family.
Yes, I've seen that piece.
Speak accented English in the same way. That is his. That's his justification for doing a very, very broad and stereotypical Asian accent,
which was Bednar's justification for just groping women in nightclubs.
Exactly, yeah. And it wasn't the covert racism that got him. It was the groping. We can't do both. I think that's the thing. That's what we've learned about people. We will stand for one or the other, but not both. It can't be gropey and a racist.
Into the cancellation pen you go, Thomas. We round him up into the pen. Was it One Man and His Dog? Do you remember One Man? Is One Man and His Dog still being televised? It's such great shit parochial British television, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember Kickstart? Did you ever watch Kickstart as a kid?
I don't think I did.
It was all the kids with the trial bikes doing trials.
Oh, okay.
And it was BBC. It was just it's classic. Oh, this will be cheap television. People like this, so just put a couple of cameras on it and switch them on, and we're good. A little bit of
that's
editing.
Called the Olympics now, Luke.
Oh, okay. Things have progressed. Okay.
Kickstart is an Olympic event.
It needs to be. As does disc golf. But anyway, let's carry on.
Yeah. So there we go. Yeah, I mean, it was a huge surprise and sort of snuck out. It was the same night as the match, wasn't it? It was or was it the night after? But it just sort of typical of Wednesday announcements. It was after the working day was over, and it felt like sort of snuck out in the dead of night kind of thing. But it seems, on the face of it, seems like good business from Wednesday.
This'll go a little bit easier on your potatoes, Wednesday fans. when your tatties at dinner, maybe alongside that Henderson's relish. Put on a bit of Green fucking off to Europe. Hoi, hoi.
Andre Green's Slovakian adventure. So the other big chunk of news, we plonk midweek matches in the news section. So the other chunk of news was the game against Fleetwood, the Fish Heads, as they're sometimes called.
the Cod Army, I believe.
Cod Army, yeah.
Yes.
Actually, it's Grimsby Fish Heads. Have I got that wrong?
Possibly, but they're all lower league. Many a lower league club with a fish reference.
Yeah, Cod Army's the official nickname, isn't it?
Oh, I want a chippy tea now, Reg.
You know that they'll serve tartar sauce with it and it'll make you angry.
No, actually, I order from, there's an Irish chippy I order from because it's the only one I can get delivery to where I am in Calgary. So they're based downtown, but then they season the chips with like a kind of like a spice mixture.
Could it be chicken salt?
I don't think it is chicken salt. That's a very
that's the Aussie thing, isn't it?
That's the Aussie thing, yeah. The Aussies. I remember chatting to an Aussie guy in Toronto and talk about his lamenting of KFC in Canada was they didn't have chicken salt, and I was like, "What is chicken salt?" And he just said, "It's just chicken salt," as though like I should know what it is, because I'd never heard of that before.
Not to be confused with the John Cooper Clarke poem "Chicken Time."
Evidently, Chicken Town.
Yeah.
Evidently, Chicken Town.
Evidently, Chicken Town. Chicken salt.
Enter the dragon. Exit Johnny Clark.
The effing chips are effing cold.
Anyway, Fleetwood.
So yeah, weird to put a spice mixer. So they're claiming that they're Irish in origin.
I think so, but then I've spoken to, I don't know, I spoke to my friend Finn, who's Northern Irish of origin, said, "Is this something you're aware of?" And he's like, "No." So yeah, I just have to tell them to just not do it, and then they don't do it.
That's good. Yeah, I think I've had fish and chips in Ireland and not had them put with
spice mix on. Yeah.
Don't put spice mix on chips. Come on. It's not Nando's. Maybe that's it. Maybe Nando's is now like traditional British fare.
Well, the argument, the curry, right, is the Great British dish.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, chicken tikka masala is the national dish, supposedly, and is either invented in Birmingham, Glasgow, or whichever, or Manchester, depending on which city you're in.
Oh, okay, interesting.
No, it's supposed to be tikka masala in particular is supposed to be a British creation. Because chicken tikka traditionally doesn't come with the sauce, so the idea is a drunken lout of whichever city you're in said, "Does it not come with a sauce?" And therefore chicken tikka. And I think they squirted tomato sauce on it, and therefore chicken tikka masala was born. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there we go. How did we get to there?
We were talking about fish and then chippies, and then we went down with another different gravy rabbit hole.
They're not called fish heads. I don't know why I did that. Cod
heads. Right. Cod heads. Yeah.
And all three of the people that made the trip really seemed like lovely folk.
It was a very loving, sweet minibus they took up, right?
Yes. Yeah. Somehow it was 3 buses, but I just don't know where they were for the match. Maybe they were just, some of them went to Meadowhall. I don't know. But it was a sort of interesting lineup, but it pretty much the team that finished the win on Saturday was the team that started this game. So,
well,
pretty much.
I don't know. I mean, I said to you near a time, I'm like, this is a wacky lineup. I think it was just having Adam Aaron up top.
Well, that's because by the end of the game, Byers dropped into the midfield. Byers came on in midfield and went out onto the right wing, which is where he got his goal from on last Saturday. Right. So that's what we started with in this game. Mm-hmm. But and also Gregory had come on by the end for Canberra, and he started the game. Johnson managed to keep his position at left wing. And Wing and Bannon seem to be the mainstays amongst the mainstays now in midfield. And that back five was the same as the previous 2 games. So Hutch and Iorfa in the middle, Hunt and Palmer on the flanks, and Bailey, Peacock, Farrell in nets. But we just rattled out the blocks. It was a breathless sort of 20 minutes of attacking football, and I think everyone was kind of like taken aback, worn out, surprised. It was sort of a weird atmosphere in the second half because I think we'd just done so much in that first. There was so much football and so much attacking.
I know.
In that early period of the game, we're still sort of digesting it. But Hunt in particular just put in some fantastic deliveries. Looked a real live wire all game. And almost, I think it was sort of 2 or 3 minutes in, was the first chance that he whipped in a great cross. And Gregory just, if he'd been about 6 inches taller, probably would have headed it on target, but it ended up going up in the air because it was just a little bit high for him. Wing had a decent effort. Adeniran sort of cut back to someone in the box who had a decent effort, and basically the kind of flourish of attacking play came to a culmination after 15 minutes with Iorfa heading it a bit longer than everybody expected from a clearance, and Gregory just reading it so well and turning it into a counter attack. Played the ball into Adeniran's path, who really loves those moments where he can stretch his legs and power away from people. Got himself in one-on-one with the goalkeeper and had a fairly decent left foot shot. It wasn't the best shot. You can tell that his left foot's not his favoured foot, but it was a decent enough effort for the keeper to do a Dawson straight into the middle of the box. And once again, Gregory was alert and there to poke it home and get his first goal in front of the Kop. Great to see a number 9 get his first start and get going straight away in that way.
Yeah, absolutely magic. At that point, I just thought it was just complete takeoff.
Yeah,
at that point, like it really looked, from what I was seeing, just like I'm like, this is it's looking like we thought summer was over, but it seems to still be cricket season. Really,
it is one. I think it genuinely looking like it felt so at the time, at sort of half time, but. I think looking back and seeing the highlights and just how many chances we made and good quality chances, it's not like balls flying across the front and thinking, well, if only somebody had been there. It's people inches away from putting the ball in the back of the net more often than not. It is one of those games. I think if we'd got a second, if we'd scored either side of Gregory's goal, we probably would have won 4 or 5-0. I think it was just one of those. Obviously, the ground was rocking, but the team were just so feeding off each other so well. It was. It's a shame in a way we didn't get a big thumping win, but maybe that would have put us too far ahead of ourselves and set expectations too wild. So perhaps the 1-0, the spawny 1-0 that we walked away.
Maybe I'm a bit reasonable though, because I did wonder about I think we take winning every week. Well, of course we would. But you sometimes get that feeling like, I'd love a game where we just absolutely whoop the opposition.
Yeah.
Give them a real dicking. That type of stuff. I was one of my notes was, do rocket ships stall stuttering engines at Cape Canaveral?
Well, yeah, I mean, tragically, yes, Luke. But
the astronaut puts the keys in, he gives it a turn, it starts, and then it's like, I'll just give it a few minutes, it needs to warm up,
Well, I think that's the nice thing of it being 3-0, 4-0, whatever, is you're not worried. You get to just straight on enjoy it. You don't have the what if worry.
Yep.
And I think we saw the other side of that in the Donny game, that them getting the penalty, that can happen. But I was, when they got the penalty, I was just thinking they don't deserve to make us nervous for the last 5 or 10 minutes or whatever it would have been.
Yeah,
like they haven't earned the right to make us nervous. And it was the same thing with Fleetwood, really, all game. Yeah. You do end up nervous because it's just one fluky thing that needs to happen for a goal to come about, and then all of the wonderful effort goes to nothing if you don't score those goals and sort of put it to bed in that way. you are just you're at the whims of the universe, a bad referee, etc., a bad offside call. So yeah, that's the benefit, isn't it? You just get to enjoy rather than the worry. But to be honest, I thought we looked really good, but I also thought Fleetwood didn't look a bad side. They created, mostly it was chances from outside the box, but I think they knew it felt like to me like they knew what they were about. They may be missing a striker. They created some chances that they didn't really look like taking.
Do you think that seems a litany of a lot of League One sides we've played?
Quite possibly.
I mean, the interesting thing is, I'm curious about this. Like, I'm curious if the teams we were playing seem to be, and kind of maybe a little bit of a jump ahead to today's talk about Wednesday against Millers, against Rotherham. We've played 4 games. 3 of these teams are 19th, 21st, and 23rd as we speak, respectively. Not respectively. Fleetwood and 19th. I always think that
this early in the season doesn't really mean much.
True, but I don't know if this is just like, I thought we had a little bit of a testing start in terms of fixture list.
Yeah, but so I think it probably is a testing start in terms of
I was thinking that, but it's just seeing the league table makes me wonder if just the quality has gone up in League One. Like, which I think can definitely happen. I mean, this doesn't feel like, this doesn't feel like the days of yore that I think, I was having a season ticket with you and it was a bit like League One. Oh yeah, Brighton, Peterborough, Charlton, the teams like that seem to have a season each where they seem to just romp the league and no one seemed to be any close to the quality that they had. Like it doesn't.
Switcher right down there, by the way, and everyone was milking themselves dry over them pre-season,
including me as well.
Yeah, and Lincoln City are right down there.
Yeah,
I just think while ever 1 win or 2 wins is the difference between being like bottom of the league and top of the league. The league,
right. It is premature, right? I mean, with 4 games into the season, I get that,
But yeah, I suppose we're looking at teams that they've not just lost to us; they've lost to somebody else as well. So what does that say about their prospects?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think you're probably right in terms of the overall quality. Every team seems to have like a whizzy youngster from the Premier League or 2 as well, that kind of is their shining jewel. There just seems to be a few like standard bits and bobs that just weren't the case previously.
Yeah, I love the term whizzy youngster, by the way.
Whizzy youngster.
Got one of those Premier League whizzy youngsters.
Someone with a little bit of buzz about them or can play a clever pass or whatever.
Full of whiz.
Because wasn't it the guy that played the clever sort of inside-out pass for Donny is a
whizzy youngster.
Galbraith, isn't it? He's from Man United.
Right. Okay. The thing I thought about Fleetwood and, some of my hesitancy was looking into the game and like just absolutely loving everything Dennis Adeniran is putting down right now.
Yeah.
Maybe the problem with Adeniran is the fact we've only got 1 of him.
Yes.
I identify with Bob Odenkirk and I think he should leave. We fancifully tell others we have triples of the Barracuda.
Very good. If you've not seen that sketch, you should seek it out. It's very, very good.
I think, was it called Cafe Wink? I think it's called
Cafe Wink.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have, but I think you're probably right. And he plays the game in such a wholehearted way. Like I think the decision, skipping ahead a little bit, the decision to rest him for today's game is probably a kind of looking after him rather than, I'm sure he would have been out there glad to take part if he'd been able to from the start. But protecting him from himself and his own boundless enthusiasm is probably going to be a bit of a job for Darren Moore and the team as well.
Yeah, but I mean, again, the thing with we remember the quote from Alan Nixon about Wednesday in their pomp signing another striker. saying you can never have enough. You can never have enough Ferraris.
Never have enough Ferraris. Yes.
You know, so maybe we've got like a bit of a stuttering Lambo in the engine in the depths of our large Jay Leno garage in Massimo Luongo. But I mean, bringing him, you know, thinking that like, well, we're resting him and we're giving, you know, gonna take the covers off action mass and take him out for a drive.
A little Sunday drive.
Little Sunday drive, yeah, isn't the worst thing in the world, you know,
around the country lanes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, of course, but I suppose I suppose that I'm fighting a battle that nobody else will have had. But I had a conversation with the chap that sits next to me at halftime, and he just sort of said, "Oh, they are terrible, they're awful," and I hadn't thought that. That wasn't my thinking on them. I thought they looked fairly decent. And looking at the stats side of things, I know stats can tell all sorts of stories, but possession-wise, it was fairly nip and tuck, 54-46, and they had 11 shots to match our 11. They had 5 shots on target, which was the same as we had. So
yeah,
I suppose I thought they looked all right, and it was another. So I could mark this as another. I certainly didn't feel like I was looking at a team that is going to be in relegation trouble.
No, but that's the thing, though. I think all 4 games. I think now to kind of jump ahead and a bit of a spoiler, like even though I host a Sheffield Wednesday podcast and I often look to be pitiful and terrible about the team, about the tin pot outfits we come up against, they've all been quite good teams.
Yeah,
really. Yeah. Like, there's no one I've thought this is a bad side. I mean, I'm hoping we get to play a bad side because I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that. The late cricket season come on.
See what that looks like.
Yeah, exactly. But no, they all look decent. They all look quite good team. I thought Fleetwood looked fine. You know, but I don't know. I mean, it's still the litany of probably all these games, and as a bit of a spoiler, is, you know, goals make games. And none of these teams look like even really laying a glove on BPF and our back 4.
Well, I would go. I'm not. I think they've had good chances. Some of the teams, and they've had good shots.
Well, to again maybe jump ahead a little bit of Freddie foreshadowing, a little bit of spoiler action here. 2 of the major chances were penalties, which were piss weak penalties on both occasions. But anyway.
Oh, I don't think this weekend's was a bad penalty.
Spoiler Town.
Town.
Let's take a detour out of Spoiler Town.
Let's take out a detour. No, but the thing is, I think both the games. So to look at the previous weekend's game and the midweek game. So Donny had, I in particular remember a very good effort down low to the keeper's left, and he made a great save. I thought Fleetwood had 2 or 3 chances that were not bad, and having a goalkeeper, I mean, we will probably at some point stop being amazed by having a competent goalkeeper, but a goalkeeper that makes the save and does not put the ball in the middle of their box for another chance to happen is making a difference already for us. I think we can count with penalty saves, with saves from other chances. I think already we've got points from having a proper goalkeeper. Already we can attribute some added value point-wise to having a goalkeeper that can do the job they're actually employed to do.
I'm looking forward to your Paul McCartney Maybe I'm Amazed cover, all about Bailey Peacock Farrell.
Maybe I'm amazed by the way you're competent all the time. And the fact you can actually kick a football. But I mean, I think the nice thing was we got that one goal on Tuesday night. We didn't stop then. We kept making chances. Unfortunately, we didn't take any more, but we kept making chances.
Gregory hit the post, didn't he, with a header?
Gregory hit the post. Hunt had another couple of good balls put in. There was one that Johnson almost got on the end of.
The one in the second half, which Gregory put on the plate with him. And then Johnson just seemed to just forget he had feet type thing.
Yeah, just turned into stone and let it bounce off his shins.
It felt a bit like he was running up in with the bowling ball, and then he just forgot to let go, and then he just kind of threw himself down the lane. Really, that's kind of what felt like it happened there.
Yeah, I mean, that miss was absolutely inexplicable. Really.
Yeah.
And Gregory got set away for a one-on-one with the goalkeeper, which he kind of bottled. He did that weird check back thing and then shot wide, if you remember that. That was a really good chance. I think we can talk after we've spoken about the game. I think it's going to be interesting to talk about first impressions of Gregory, because I think some parts are absolutely as advertised. You know, his goal here was a classic poacher's sort of effort. He played his part in the build-up by latching on to it and making the chance happen. So that's great. He's got the link-up play. And then he's also in position for the spilled effort. So that's fantastic. But I was slightly disappointed with the fact he didn't look like he was relishing his opportunity to get an effort off one-on-one with the goalie. Part of that was his pace. I think he was getting caught for pace. So he put a doubt in his mind. But there was another. He had a bigger, similar chance in this weekend's game, which I think similarly didn't really grasp the nettle particularly well.
Interesting.
But a good. I mean, this was a really good performance again. I think we deserved more goals than we had, but we're having a very fine start to the season, and the thought that we've got coming away from the ground, having a conversation where it's like, well, we've not even possibly Luongo, if he's still as good as he was pre-injury. Possibly he's still our best midfielder. And he's not even kicked a ball yet. We've got Shodipo, who got lots of goals in this league previously. So that's an exciting thing to bring in. And Windass, if he comes back fit and firing, will undoubtedly be one of the best forward players in this division. So the fact that we've got all these things, you know, we're doing all right.
Yeah.
And we've still got all these things to come back into play.
I know.
And we're not desperately sat waiting for these players back either, which means we can take time and do what we can to try and make sure they don't immediately break again.
I mean, I don't want to be too, I really don't want to be too far ahead of myself. And the risk is always when you're feeling confident and optimistic about these things, you're probably going to come across very arrogantly.
Yeah.
But I mean, saying that, Windass should tear this league a fucking new one. Really.
He absolutely should. Yeah.
Can't wait to watch him doing a TikTok video about him tearing a new asshole to this division.
Some weird voiceover. This is where the old asshole used to be. Then Windass happened.
I just love to see more of him doing the funky town dance.
The disappointing thing, I think, from midweek, which we didn't touch on in the run through there, was Hutch getting injured.
Yeah.
So I think it did start. He was involved in a challenge, and then he sort of pulled up afterwards. It's a bit vague. I don't know if we've been told much detail about what's gone wrong with him. But
they said in the post match. I was looking at that quickly. I was googling for Dom Howson, his Twitter. He was sharing the post match chat with Darren Moore. He was saying that Moore was saying that they wanted to give him a rest, or that Hutchinson really wanted to play, but they decided to kind of give him a rest. Basically,
but midweek he said, hopefully it's not as bad as it looks. Which is
but there's always that thing at the end of the game.
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting. There was no one said someone was mentioning on Else Talk, I think, who went to the game, was talking about what happened with Luongo at the end of today to jump ahead.
Oh, right.
And apparently had a bit of a, seemed to get a bit of treatment at the end of it. But
okay.
That's always worrying,
Yeah.
Anyway.
But then,
jumping ahead.
And
maybe getting worried. I think that isn't the difficult thing with injuries is typically a bit like, well, that looked bad. I'm worried about that. And sometimes you're proven right, sometimes you're completely wrong. And sometimes it's the more innocuous things that people are out for months.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, I suppose Luongo, who knows what the ongoing situation is? It might be that he's sort of someone that needs running repairs forever, in his position. We don't know what the extent of his injury was, or even what his injury was that kept him out for the best part of 2 seasons, or whether it was different injuries. All these things we don't really know the full detail of. And he's not played any football this season so far. Then he plays the full match today. Who knows? But that I would presume if there was something particularly wrong, we would have taken him off. We had a spare sub. But anyway, who knows? Do we want to get on to today's game? The game against Rotherham?
We do. That's the nature of what we do. And I do want to talk about it. I'm interested to hear your opinions. We've kept the powder dry in texting. Just as a bit of a precursor, I guess I had the weird world it's been a long week. I'm volunteering for Calgary Indie Music Festival Sled Island here. So I did that Friday night. I'm doing that tonight as well on Saturday night. So I had a long week. I did a lot of work, hanging out with friends, hanging out with my girlfriend. Also had a COVID scare last week, which was fantastic.
Oh, brilliant.
So I hung out with a friend of mine who then texted me the next day to say, oh yeah, this other friend who she hung out with a couple of times had tested positive for COVID. I then had a headache on the Sunday, which was probably thanks to the fact that it's just smoky AF for a lot of the time here in Calgary this summer, thanks to the forest fires in BC. So that was probably the reason why I went and got myself nasally violated with a COVID test. So it's basically all of this is probably too much information, but I've just had a big old week, and I wondered about setting my clock for 10 to 6 this morning to get up, and the alarm went off, and I thought, no, I need to sleep.
Yeah.
So I actually got up, and the thing that annoys me about the Wednesday website is there's no way to watch a stream of a game without them actually telling you what's happening in the game, which is I think it's a real faux pas.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think I've mentioned this before. So,
well, you missed we had a delayed kickoff. That was fun.
Yeah. So, so the New York Stadium, they're named as such because some sewer caps, I think, were made in Rotherham in New York, that are in New York. So I'm wondering if maybe they repaid the favor by making the turnstiles in Emerson, Buffalo.
Well, what you missed with that, though, was the fun of being shown the kind of high crane view from the top of the stand, capturing most of the stadium and the pitch, and 15 or 20 kids waving flags and their mascot waving a flag, who I thought was a cow from a distance, but it turns out is a bear for some reason.
Why is he a bear? What's the name of the? You can keep talking. I'll Google what the Rotherham mascot is called.
I think he's just called Miller Bear.
Miller Bear, fucking hell, he is called Miller Bear. Jesus. Did you guess that, or did you know that?
Which is my name on all of the social media channels.
Oh, Richard's spotted the thriving gay community. This mascot is terrible.
It's a really rubbish mascot. It's just you've gone to a shop, you've Googled mascot and bought the first thing, isn't it?
You know what I find really scary? It's got a really big head for a bear. Like, it's a really fat head. It's a really fat, flat head. And I want to say its eyes are piss holes in the snow, but it's the opposite. It's the inverse, because the eyes are white and the eyes are really scary. I'm looking at him now, and those eyes are like, it's just it's purely just white pixels on that background, but it's piercing into my soul, Rich. This bear is scaring the crap out of me.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it?
It is absolutely awful. Awful, awful.
If it's not piss holes in the snow, is it snow holes in the piss?
It's snow holes in the piss, yeah. The dank, black, deeply dehydrated piss.
Oh, it's
of
so
someone
bad.
who's just died afterwards, because that wouldn't be a good colour for your piss. That is an awful, awful mascot. Especially like even looking across looking across to the other 1/3 of Sheffield City, to their landlocked pirate.
Yes.
You know,
Presumably.
that is awful.
But the children and the bear, as they announced the delayed kickoff at kickoff time, just were left out there for the 15 minutes waggling their flag.
Well, now I know, Rich. So if I get up really super early to watch Wednesday again, I'll just save that image and bring it up, because then I won't go back to sleep again.
just waggling their flags to Kings of Leon. I mean, oh dear. So yeah, 20 prepubescent children and a creepy bear waggling their flags to "Sex is on fire." This is football. But on to matters at hand. A bit of a weird lineup.
It is weird because I mean, this was the weird thing I said to you. You know, we said last week that we'd both do the Pro Evolution Soccer FIFA thing of taking out the equally talented young Ferraris from the academy garage for a game like this, because we can control them and both make them as good as that. So I thought that would have been the case for Fleetwood, but then we largely stuck with the very thing, and we rotated for this game, which seemed a strange decision. I mean, there needs to be squad rotation, but I was like looking over, I'm like, yeah, my notes are basically lineup is a bit cray-cray. Sad to see Hutchinson out after a decent partnership. Seeing Den on the bench is weird, but Mass is back. Oh, this is just bananas. Good to see Brown with another chance. Just rotation, ? Feels weird to see it more for this game rather than Fleetwood. Interesting to see how this plays out. Even though I was trying to be honest, though I actually knew what was happening at that point, because I think the time I woke up was about the 79th minute. So, anyway. So I tried to be...
It wasn't... sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, it's just a weird lineup. I tried to be genuine with that comment for the time, but if I would have, I'd been like, I don't know what I'd be thinking. Really, it is a bit weird. And and then we're thinking about that the free prong, of which we're not seeing Sao still, we're not seeing Corbino still, we're not seeing Marvin Johnson. We are seeing Patterson playing off Canberry.
Yes,
strange. And then Brown on the other side.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad to see, but it's not the strongest front three that we have. I don't know. I mean, we're still working that out, but we're still getting up to the point where we think the players will perform as well as they do on paper. But I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing right now on paper. God, what am I guessing on paper? Gregory up as number 9. I'm thinking Corbino, and then probably either one of Johnson Shadipo on the other flank.
Yeah.
That's what I'm guessing is going to be.
I think Corbino is going to be more of a surprise from the bench more often than not. I would be my guess, but I don't know. I know you've got high hopes for your compatriot, Luke.
Yep, I do indeed.
No, but it was a bit of an odd lineup. So obviously we had the enforced change of Dunkley, because Hutch wasn't on the bench either. So for all the talk of Hutch maybe nearly making it, being given every chance, he didn't make it. So Dunkley's the enforced change there at the back. But it's elsewhere, those changes. So as you say, that front three looks kind of baffling. And then Luongo makes his first start in a very, very long time in that midfield group.
God, we didn't even have a defensive sub on the bench.
So Louis Gibbo didn't get a...
He didn't sit on the bench for you.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess I suppose Brown could drop in, and Adeniran looks like... I wouldn't be surprised if Adeniran can do a job at sort of right back.
Yeah, I guess we can move some stuff around. I'm sure like Palmer could probably move in, and then you said Palm could drop back on maybe on the, in the fullback flank.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some stuff we can kind of work around there. Yeah.
Intriguing, yeah. No, I hadn't really noticed that we didn't have a defender on the bench at all. That's an interesting one. But considering that we've had benches before where you look at it and there was nobody even vaguely exciting or interesting on it. Quite nice to have so many attacking options that we neglect to put any defenders on.
It's such a strong squad for this division. Like I'm going to say, it's our bench is scary. Our bench should scare oppositions. It scares me how good it is. To be fair, yeah.
That being said, so it was a strange lineup, and I think we started playing like it was a bit of a strange, unfamiliar lineup because and Rotherham started off very, very brightly. It seemed to be sort of isolating Palmer, or maybe trying to isolate the gap between Palmer and Dunkley. I don't know. I couldn't quite figure out which it was, but I had him down as a right back. I'm just looking. I think Who Scored doesn't have the lineup as I would picture it or imagine it. I'm just trying to see what the average positions look like, because I suppose if Ogbenny basically was their star man. He looked a real threat. Looked really quick. Delivery not brilliant, but sort of that thing of getting enough chances at it to that it didn't really matter that each individual delivery wasn't great, because he was going to be able to probably get 10 chances to put the ball in the box and eventually one of them would be all right. I've just got sort of 6 minutes in. Dunkley was backing off a run from the middle, and very fortunate that the player didn't shoot. But then we had a chance of our own 7 minutes in. So I think we'd had like 5 minutes of just pure Rotherham pressure and the odd half chance.
Yeah.
7 minutes in, Patterson did a really good sort of driving run into the box. I put driving run from Patterson, who is now a winger, ? Cuts back a brilliant pass to Cambery, who somehow shot straight up in the air. That was a very frustrating end to that move.
My note about that was Patterson with a lovely angled jink into the box and a nip little feed off to Cambery, who relays him and us with a moment not as good as he lazily scuffs it over.
Yes, yeah. Fully like leaning back and just pinged it straight. Straight. I think Pearson on the commentary said that it would have been easier to hit the target than do what he did from where he stood. And what we didn't talk about midweek was how Dunkley did. I think he did come out with some praise from some people, but he just deeply, deeply worries me. I think I worry about him sometimes when we're not even playing. He's just an abundantly handsy defender. He's very, like, the physicality of defending is obviously his forte, but he forces that to happen in every exchange. And it's like, you just don't need to touch people all the time. And all the time that you're putting hands on people in the box and around the box, you're just asking for them to fall over. And then so that's, he's kind of a free kick, a constant free kick threat against us. That any given moment he'll just go through the back of somebody or pull them over or pull their shirt off or whatever. But then in addition to that, he just never quite seems convincing when the goal midweek was a great convincing header from Iorfa. The fact he headed it all the way to the halfway line was what made the difference. And it feels like every time maybe not every time is harsh, but it feels like an even chance that Iorfa is going to head it straight up in the air at any given moment and like pile the pressure on us. And the ball could just kind of like ricochets and bounces off him. It just never quite feels... Iorfa gives all this feeling of control and...
Yeah, I know.
He's containing... Obviously, he's just as physical, even more physical than Dunkley. He's stronger, he's quicker, he's taller. But it's all contained and controlled, whereas Dunkley just feels awkward and just he just terrifies me all the time. So I just said Dunkley is a constant worry. Him and Palmer don't seem to be communicating particularly well, and also I thought on top of that, Wing wasn't having a great game He didn't have a great start to the second half midweek either, but he turned it round. But I think the occasion maybe got to Lewis Wing a bit today. Helped by his own comments. I don't know if you picked up that he sort of said, I was never going to go back to Rotherham. I think did he say I served my time there?
I served my time. Yeah.
Which meant that he was getting pelters every time he touched the ball, and he didn't. Some players rise above that, and that would draw a performance out of them. That wasn't the case for Wing. I thought he shrunk under it. He got a yellow card for a pretty nothingy.
Yep.
Foul.
I do just want to make the allusion. I am thinking of a Fun Loving Criminals song where Huey Lewis tells, not Huey Lewis, Huey Morgan, tells the listener that basically he's given the choice of Paris or prison. And then he says, I chose the former because I heard it was warmer. And I wonder if it's the same thing, but just with Rotherham for Lewis Wing. And he thought that Rotherham would be mildly warmer than prison.
Well, it almost sounds like a punishment from
it
Colin,
does. It does indeed.
Which is fair enough, to be honest.
Warnock sent him to Rotherham, the new version of sending him to Coventry. Yeah.
Do you think he did it sort of like his sort of typical grin? Lewis, I'm sending you to New York.
Do you like that one? Yeah.
You like that one, Lewis?
Oh, can I get a glass of wine?
You're gonna hate it. I think a huge relief for Wednesday, but obviously, wish him all the best for the rest of the season. But after 25 minutes, Ogbeni did his hamstring and went off.
Yeah.
And I think that did make life noticeably easier for Wednesday.
Could I rewind it back a little bit here?
Feel free.
There was a long throw in that bounced in on the 14th minute that really worried me. This is generally just from this first period, and I hate to say it's a lot of this game. Not too good a handle on things here.
No.
And then Rotherham carved us open, but the through ball they gave was offside. That 16th minute mark with the wing free kick, I think that's something to kind of I just want to kind of give a focus on here.
Yeah.
The linesman should have given us a throw in.
I agree. Yeah.
Yep. And then from there we concede that lazy free kick, and then somehow Wing gets a yellow.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with. From there, they kill a dangerous free kick in, which Bailey Peacock Farrell punches behind. And then suddenly they've got another corner from there as well. So the butterfly effect, or the shit ref effect, perhaps, the shitter ref effect, it just gave, it really didn't help the fact that Rotherham had a really prolonged spell of pressure on us.
Yeah.
I said, this is not fun. And then I think I'm catching up to you now and said, then Rotherham get an injury because he went down, then he got back up, right?
That's right. He went off and then came back on, but it was a temporary. I don't know whether he just came back on to give his replacement a chance to warm up properly,
right?
Or whether it was a genuine see if you can run it off sort of thing.
I'm all right. No, I'm fucked.
Yeah. But I think. So to give you my match day experience, yours was the sort of delayed thing. I did have a delay that was almost as long as yours. So there was two streams available. One was the Rotherham commentary, and that was about 5-10 minutes behind play and stopping fairly constantly. The other was presumably the Wednesday commentary, so it was Radio Sheffield, but that was going. Just the screen would go black every couple of minutes. I think somebody's screensaver kept coming on. Because that's when it comes down to it. That's what all these like grotty streams are, is just somebody running like lots of laptops and like sharing their screen effectively.
And spinning plates is just moving the trackpad a little on each one.
Well, he's playing Civilization on the other screen, so he can't just pay attention to the match, can he? It was sort of trying to decide which was the least bad option at various times. But both of I had the opportunity then to hear both sets of commentary teams saying that they knew he was going to have to go off as soon as they saw the injury. Like, you just don't, when you ping your hamstring like that, nobody's anywhere near you and you're running and then something goes, that you don't generally, it's very, very slim chance that you're going to just be able to like walk that off.
Yeah.
So it's sort of almost weird that they tried to do that. But I'm sure Palmer breathed a huge sigh of relief, because even though they did have a good replacement, I thought Sadlier looked another very decent footballer. He didn't have that pace of Ogbonna, which does add to everything.
Sadlier is a good player. I think his arch nemesis, Happy Truther, is also very good as well.
What is he a truther for? 9/11 or?
Yeah.
I'm exposing this conspiracy, but I'm doing it in a positive way. The Illuminati control our lives, but most of the time it's okay. So we have, first off, so we know we've sort of foreshadowed that there is a penalty to come. We had our own penalty shout before that, though. 28th minute.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I didn't really see it. I didn't see anything in it at all. Like, I'm going to be honest. And there's barely. They're like, oh, and there's claims from Wednesday, and then it just looked like nobody, because the camera was kind of focusing on Patterson. Maybe Patterson and Canberry, or Canberry and maybe Brown alongside him on the other side, and they were just kind of like very flatly walking back after the decision. There wasn't. I didn't see any claiming, unless it was Bannon kicking off.
I think Canberry did claim. I think Canberry was the closest to it. I think what happened was the cross went in, and frustratingly, Canberry didn't attack it in the way you'd hope. He was sort of letting it roll across the front of his body, but I think as he let it go across the front of his body, Wood kind of punched it. Or it hit Wood's arm, the top of Wood's arm. So Ronnie Moore was claiming it was chest. He said, it looks like he's... oh, no, he's Scouse, isn't he? Is he Scouse? I don't know. It looks like he said it looks like he's hit his chest. He's hit his arm, but I think it's probably the chest, which sounds a lot like a handball to me.
Right.
And Pearson was convinced. He's always convinced. But the neutral was saying that they thought there was probably something in it.
Right, but I mean, I guess like contextually, if what was last week was a penalty,
yeah,
then this.
Oh yeah, well that's
then probably that is a penalty too. I just couldn't even see the incident, like even the replay, and then
it was a bad. Yeah, it wasn't a good angle for us to see it.
And then they don't. That's not something they go back and replay these days, right?
No, because included in that move was Wood absolutely throttled Luongo, dragged him to the floor.
Yeah, that should have been a yellow.
Well, the fact that he remembered and went and spoke to him and still didn't give him the yellow was baffling. And I was listening to the Rotherham commentary at that point, and they couldn't believe that Wood had got away with it.
Yeah.
They were just like, oh, Wood will get a yellow for that. Oh, here comes the ref to give Wood his yellow. Whoa, he's only talking to him. Like, they couldn't believe that he'd not been given a yellow. That's what I mean. The ref was dreadful today. I mean, we've moaned about refs in almost every game so far, and the one midweek wasn't a picnic. Handed out yellow cards like they were going out of fashion. But he was. I think him and it was the whole officiating team today. That's the thing.
Yeah,
because the
one midweek thought it was Halloween and mistook yellow cards for swizzle sticks. They did the other way around, right?
Yeah, or circus peanuts.
Yeah.
Yes. I always see Americans moaning about getting circus peanuts. But the bad calls on the ball going out of play, as you say, from we should have had a throw in that didn't happen, and just offsides that were questionable all the way through the game, and it affected both teams. So my next thing is that my next note is the penalty incident. I don't know if you've got anything between kind of the 30th minute and the penalty incident.
Well, I think 28th was the one that I thought was maybe the one that should have been a bigger yellow, certain shades of yellow, that was probably Wood for hitting Longo. Was it with you for the 28th minute?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
But the 31st minute, I thought also that was the one. There was some nice footwork from Luongo, and then he was just taken out pretty cynically on the side of the pitch.
So what I put was several fouls that were bad or worse than Wings go unpunished, and the worst of these was Wood hoiking down Luongo very cynically, but somehow just getting a talking to. So there were several incidents. I think there was a moment where I was slightly worried we were going to see a red, because I think he let 3 big tackles from them go without punishing them, and our players were starting to exact their own revenge, to as tends to happen. I think Bannon sort of rattled into a tackle or two around that time to try and, I don't know, punish them for what they were doing, because the ref wasn't doing his job.
I said the one in the 31st minute, probably a yellow, but Rotherham has some type of protection spell going on. And this is the thing, the comment I noted about just afterwards. I said Rotherham are probably a great outfit for the division. They can play a bit, but they can also be dirty a bit, and seemingly getting away with it every time.
Yeah, I do wonder if we'll see a bit of a, when somebody actually crunches the numbers. They showed, I think, that referees were more even when there were no fans in the stadium, and it feels to me like they're much more likely to give decisions to the home team now.
Right.
And I think we've seen it at Wednesday, at Hillsborough as well. It's gone in our favour, because I think there's been games where, particularly last Saturday, where the opposition got yellow cards for things that maybe we didn't. But I think we might find that refs have been affected by fans coming back maybe more than players have. Anyway,
I've got a few more notes as well. Okay. So one of the things I thought was really interesting was, like, I think this was, we're in this world, and we're not immune because we do a podcast. We're part of the fan media community. However much we want to be busy mates with these people, or whether we want to be like, look at these fucking idiots. But there's the world of the kind of vloggers, which has a different flavor to what we do. And did you see any of they had a Rotherham vlog?
Yes.
With the 4 fans, which was just hilarious.
Not any of those for one of ours. Even Bannon might make the bench.
Oh no, I'd have Bannon, but I'd have him on bench.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots. Absolute fucking idiots. Yeah. But it's interesting that, they talk a lot about Woody, Richard Austin, formerly of his parish, Richard Wood. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to think, wow, he's 36. Oh my word.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Old man Woody. But interesting, like I was wondering, like, well, what's the fabric with him, being that, a long time ago, we identified him pretty heavily with Sheffield Wednesday. There was a very sad and very poorly managed kind of end of his Sheffield Wednesday career, where we probably should have sold him for top dollar rather than sticking around with him.
The famed £20 million defense?
Yes, he is. It is Wooden Beavers, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
What's told Beeves up to these days? Is he still at Peterborough?
He's still kicking around.
Yeah, he's at Peterborough. Only 31.
Still lobbing the goalkeeper from,
God, that was good,
30 yards out, given half a chance.
That was fantastic.
His own goalkeeper, by the way.
So interesting, he has a good reputation with them. He's been there for a long time. So I was wondering, like, well, where is he in terms of, like, length of his career? And probably taking away the academy nature of Wednesday, they made a note of saying he's had 7 years at Wednesday and 7 years at Rotherham.
Right. Okay.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just thought that was interesting to kind of bring up.
No, it is interesting. They also said something like, "Oh, he was unfairly blamed at Wednesday." I don't really remember that. I remember him. I think he was popular all the way through his Wednesday career, Richard Wood. I don't remember him getting.
There was the final end. There was the final end of the Richard Wood time at Wednesday, because there was the whole, he wanted to vie to have a bigger wage, but then I think it was the mentality also was that there was, very much a wage limit to things at Wednesday. And then I think he was pissed off because Pearce came in as a top earner.
Looks like Watson. Well, I'm just looking on the Wikipedia. They says that prior to the 2008-2009 season, Wood was named joint captain alongside Steve Watson. Although shortly after the season began, Wood handed in a transfer request. The request was declined. And then it says in the 2009-2010 campaign, after a successful start for Wood, scoring 2 goals in 2 matches, he declined a new contract with Wednesday and he was transfer listed on the 29th of October 2009.
Right. Well, I remember there was the God, was it? I think it was a game at home against Coventry.
Mm.
And I remember that was terrible because I think that was like the last season. That was the relegation season from the Championship.
Yeah.
And it was Laws bringing on Wood. Laws bringing on Wood to near the end of the game. And I think everyone was a bit like, why are you bringing on Wood? Because at this point, it seemed like his heart was elsewhere. He didn't want to be at Wednesday. To do something defensively, and then when we conceded from a corner, which Wood was supposed to be defending.
Right. Fair enough.
That felt a pretty bad moment. But again, it was, I don't know, I think, was it Watford were interested or sniffing around him?
Yeah, there was some, he ended up going to Coventry.
Yeah.
And, there was a fair amount of interest.
I think Coventry got him on a fair wedge, more than we could pay.
Yeah.
And I think that was prior to Coventry having some real financial issues.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So I don't look back. I think it was just badly managed at the time. I think hindsight is 2020. I mean, it felt a bit like Tudgay when Burnley came in with a 7-figure bid, and then that was following an incredible season of purple patches for Tudgay, and then he kind of fell off. But also there was the weird mentality at the time that it seemed like any money that was sold for players would just go towards servicing the debt.
Yes.
And couldn't really be spent on replacements. So, I don't know. It seemed like it was a shit time.
It was.
We had some good times considering it was shit times sometimes during that point.
Yes.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the game. I remember a time, I don't think I've kind of written this down. Wild should have been booked, but then nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The 39th minute, Sadlier. So I call him Sadlier now. He hits it really well, but it was well wide. Like, I think they were commenting on how well he hit it, but it was wide. Absolutely flash one wide. Dunks did a really good slide tackle on the 42nd minute to stop a break. I said at this point, even knowing and having that, the deflation of anxiety with coming in with the wacky time that I did, I did say that we look like we'll never score here. Like, it just that. And then that brings us to the final part of the first half, and that was a penalty. Yeah.
I thought it's interesting just to sort of talk about the we'll never score sort of. I wasn't particularly feeling that. I felt like I thought we went on the very rare occasions we were getting forward. I thought we probably looked like we had a bit more.
I guess we had a bit more the better one, because I mean that's the funny thing was, like, for impressive and how dominant Rotherham were for that first half, like they weren't really creating it. Like they didn't crosses. Did they have any shots on target or any that actually worried you?
No, I don't think so. I think they probably had less shots in that first half than Fleetwood had, comparing the two games.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't really remember being particularly worried. That it was more like chances that almost broke. Like, I think that one where whoever it was running straight at. I think it might have been Rathbone was running straight at Dunkley, and you like he sort of bottled having a shot. He should have had a shot, but he just ran into Dunkley. Dunkley was just sprinting backwards as fast as he could away from the ball. But that's probably like one of their better chances. It just didn't come to anything, didn't result in a shot. But 45th minute, we sort of over committed and got caught out by a long clearance. And we set this chase in motion where it was Coyote and Patterson. There was somebody else in there. Can you remember who the third player was? There was another Wednesday player in the midst of that.
No, I don't recall. Sorry,
it's all right. But because the important contact came from Patterson, basically Patterson clumsily got a hold of Coyote. He managed to time it perfectly that they just crossed the line of the box, so that it became a penalty. They were right on the very corner of the box. I mean, this was such a needless, rock-headed piece of decision-making. Coyote's not exactly the best striker in the world either. Like, it's not a given that from the edge of the box he would have been able to do anything. Probably the most likely outcome would have been a corner or a throw-in, I would have thought, from the situation. But Patterson gets involved, takes him down, and there's a penalty. There was a bit of discussion whether it was in the box or not. I thought it looked like it fairly clearly was.
So here's the thing. I think it's a foul. It's maybe a bit more on the soft spectrum in terms of things. Yeah. But I think the player makes the ref make a decision.
Yeah. I'd want it given for us. If it was the other way around.
I think it's outside the box, but I think it's going at such a pace that it's one of those where contact is made probably just outside the line or on the line, and then the player falls into the box at that pace.
And the referee's probably on the halfway line, and the linesman's probably further away than the referee.
Sure. So
yeah,
I can see why it happens, but from the replays, I was like, no, I'm pretty certain he's outside the box. I think if we had the thing of VAR, I think it would have been probably denied. Unless, I don't know, if it happens on the line, is it inside the line, or is the line mark where this is where it begins?
I thought Patterson initiated the contact outside the box, but Coyote, by the time he went down, was in the box. It would have been very close. I'm sure it was one of those VAR probably would have looked at for a long time, I think.
Rewind back and forth for like 5 minutes. Yeah.
It's very hard to tell. But yeah, I've just put needless nonsense from Patterson, and then I said, thankfully, we've got a great bloody keeper.
You said that in your notes beforehand, or were you saying that you
put that in my
down? You jotting that down prior to the kick?
No, it was after the save.
Okay.
Just a huge save. I thought it was a decent penalty.
It was a decent penalty, yeah.
Commentary said it was a decent penalty. This was, rather than being a miss, this was a good save from the goalkeeper.
Definitely, yeah.
Such a strong hand. He hit it well enough that sometimes you see those kind of like bounce off the keeper and still go in the roof of the net. And then following it up by claiming the corner afterwards was just tremendous. Absolutely wonderful goalkeeping. He bailed, pardon the pun, he bailed us out so many times today. And I think afterwards that he got a lot of praise from the Rotherham manager. Just sticking his hand in, being brave, taking decisions that I don't think you normally see a goalkeeper make. He stopped a lot of their crosses becoming things, I think. And it must be so good for the defenders to have him behind you. I think he's such an active, busy goalkeeper in the best possible way. This just amazing. They were so good.
So last night I was manning the merchandise tent at Camp Slide Island. In the tent, there was a little bit of a well of kind of water. You know, sometimes like the material's good for keeping the water off, but it's not amazing. So I had some drops underneath that. And what I did was I got rid of a bit of it, making sure nothing was too around it, though maybe I got someone's bag that was nearby. And I jumped up and did a hurricane punch and just slapped it with my fist to knock it out.
Nice.
It's a similar kind of Street Fighter heroics from Bailey Peacock Farrell. Just got a Shadouken this one wide.
Shadouken. Yeah. But I mean this is where we spent all last season talking about the difference a good goalkeeper makes, the fact that they win you games, the fact they win you points. There's no doubt in my mind we lose the game if that penalty goes in. Like, we're going in at half time, 1-0 down, having been the worst team all the way through that.
Yeah.
I think heads would have been down. It puts a different perspective on everything. Getting that save and coming and claiming the corner afterwards, because goodness sake, how many times have Wednesday done the big moment well and then immediately followed it up by losing their heads by getting too excited? Because that would be typical Wednesday to concede from the corner after the penalty. It's the sort of thing we do all the time. So coming out and claiming that so strongly as well just meant that incident was put to bed. We go in on a bit of a high. We've survived. We're lucky to get to halftime at 0-0, and we've got another life in that second half to try and build on. Oh, what a relief!
Yeah, it's just so casual from Bailey Peacock Farrell to do that. It's almost like he struck it, as well as the guy struck the penalty. Really, it was. Yeah, it's one of the better penalty saves I've seen. And I know it's us and it's ours, but it happened so quickly that I didn't really know where the ball went. It's a shame sometimes with certain games that because of lack of TV coverage, we don't get a second of 2 or 3 angles to look at this just to see the beauty of what he did. Really,
there is quite a good. I don't know if you've seen. There is a mobile video a fan took from behind the goal, which is pretty.
Oh, nice,
pretty excellent. Maybe we can share that in the show notes.
I'm going to be looking for that right now.
I could probably forward it on for you.
Okay.
This is great podcasting, guys. This is the living end.
Good stuff.
So it is a user called The Exile on Twitter that was
Thank
sharing
you,
it.
Exile. Thank you very much.
We'll pop it in the show notes, as I said. It's nice to get that extra view of it. But so we get a chance to brush ourselves off. Were you expecting, like I was, to see a change or two at halftime?
I don't know. I thought maybe more of the change would have come from, probably come from that kind of talk again. Because I was kind of thinking a lot about what kind of happened in that regards, last week. I don't know. And also I had the weird position that, I'd kind of seen what was
You knew what was
coming.
Yeah, you knew what was coming.
Luke Stradamus. I wanted to say, are we becoming a monkey in outfits, or is the half disease inherent in Sheffield Wednesday? It's just a virus in the base of our spine. Because again, it's that whole thing being we weren't in this. I know there's a typical fan thing we can say, and we say, well, the first X chunk of minutes belongs to Y opposition team. But let's be honest, all of that first half was all Rotherham, really.
Yeah, it was, but then Canberra had probably the best chance of the half. He did a terrible job with it, but 5 minutes in, we could have been 1-0 up, or 6 minutes in.
I know.
But yeah, I do appreciate. Yeah, we were definitely second best in that first half. We were out fought and outplayed by and large, and spent most of it defending our box.
They seem to have done the homework on us, because I felt they played a high press too. Maybe that was a little bit like some of the other teams as well, but that seems to be the mentality, as they've all watched the videos of Wednesday and they all know that we want to play it out from the back.
Yeah.
From Peacock
Farrell. But then we were fairly well set up for then knocking it a bit longer, because we had Patterson and Canberra, you'd think. But Patterson and Gregory. So you think no, it was Canberra, wasn't it? So you'd think we'd be sort of well placed to sort of make that shift. And I think sometimes it did work, but we kept feeding it down that channel to Patterson, and I think Harding and Wood are just two big monsters, and that's meat and drink in it for those boys.
Mm-hmm.
The second half, I lost minutes to the whims of grotty streams. This is where it started, though. Yeah, one was constantly buffering and 5 minutes behind. The other kept going to a screensaver. So that was my choice: was flying windows or.
They even had an after dark screensaver, which Rich was like, "This is a bit dated." Really. Toasters with wings. Oh, I don't
Toasters with wings. Yeah, there's a dancing baby. Ooga chaka, ooga ooga.
And you're like, look, I've enjoyed Ally McBeal.
Who didn't?
That
kooky guy, the fact that they could all sing weirdly.
Lucy Liu looking hot as balls, as always.
Lucy Liu looking hot as balls. Ally herself being, very likable and whatever else. The manic pixie dream girl, who's also a lawyer.
A guest spot from Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, what's not to like?
I'd really love the idea of singing the blues doing this on the podcast. I mean, I quite enjoyed Ally McBeal.
What did you think in the end the significance of the dancing baby was?
Quite ahead of their time with the non-gender bathrooms.
Yes, which did add to the drama.
only here, folks.
It's a Dom off. Dom Howson's talking about
Ali. Great stuff.
This
is why we do it, isn't it, Rich?
Oh dear.
So you had that. Did the dancing baby go off in time for?
Well, I saw between these two weird options, I managed to piece together Rashomon style what happened with the goal. each flick between the streams revealing another key detail in the goal. But it boils down to a really good pass from Luongo playing pass.
Yeah.
I don't know what. So that pass seemed to be on. I don't know whether that was a Rotherham change or something that we did differently. But that suddenly we found this gap between the left-sided centre back and their left wing back, and kept feeding Patterson into it, which was a really fruitful ball forward for us for a period of time in the game. But on this one, he sort of went shoulder to shoulder and absolutely smashed his centre back out of the way. Passed it to a fairly clearly offside Florian Camberi, who tapped it in a slightly unconvincing manner. But it's a great goal. We won a lot.
Well, this is interesting because a great space made by Luongo. He's got time on the ball, sprays it forward for Patterson, who I thought, because that was the thing, was who in brackets maybe offside. I thought Patterson was
maybe offside as well. Yeah.
Okay, but you were mainly focusing on Camberi. Because I thought Camberi's timing was just good.
Oh, well, maybe.
I thought Patterson was the one who looked off.
Patterson did look a bit off as well.
It looked like one of those, I'm in an offside position, but I'm kind of running back. And I didn't get there in time. One of those things.
Yeah.
But again, great power for him to hold off, to beat off the Rotherham defense. And put it on a plate for Camberi. I mean, even Camberi couldn't miss from there.
It was a terrible finish from Camberi, but
it looked like
still
he was
going
to miss. I know. He did roof it. And so
he did another skied it effort, but he was close enough this time that skying it hit the roof of the net.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. So maybe I mean, it was a bit confusing, and I haven't seen it back. So maybe it was Patterson. I did question Patterson, but I thought it was maybe more Camberi that was offside. But either way, it's another bit of poor officiating. But thankfully, this time in our favour.
That's true. That's true.
But it was taken well. Longo's pass was great. Patterson, his driving run was really good. I think there have been moments of real shining positivity from him on that right wing flank. It's weird to see him in another strange position, but he just kind of just mucks in wherever he is in a very work a day pleasing way. He just kind of rolls his sleeves up and okay, I can be Callum Patterson here if you want me to. And it was a great pass, and he did his job, Camberi. You can't really criticise it. It looked a bit sort of fortunate, but it went in and 1-0 up.
Mm-hmm.
There was so my next note is 58 minutes. There was a foul on Luongo that wasn't given. They broke forward with Coyote, who dallied on the ball, and then had his pocket picked by Luongo. But the tackle it was a fairly forceful tackle, and it rebounded into the path of a Rotherham player. I think this would have been, didn't make a note at the time, but I think it would have been your boy Sadlier again, who absolutely let a rip-roaring effort go
He
from the edge of
whacked
the box.
it. Yeah, he whack it. That's my note. Sadly, a
Yeah,
whacking one wide again. Really hit
yeah.
that one.
And it must have been close because Peacock Farrell went, did a full-on dive for it. So it must have been close enough for him to think it was a risk for him. But potentially a bit of another let-off. I'd like to see it again before I throw him under the bus, but I suspect the ball might have bounced off Dunkley to Sadlier.
Probably.
But this was a period. Dunkley then had a period of about 10 minutes where pretty much every move he made put pressure on us. There was a free kick into the box that he headed just straight up in the air, which they had a good chance from. Peacock Farrell again somehow managed to stop it going in. Kind of bounced off his chest, but he caught it afterwards, which was very good. But
would you often call Shay Dunkley a queen because that's the name of a pregnant cat who's giving you kittens?
Yes, or just an absolute bomb scare. Bomb scare Dunkley. Here he is. 68th minute. A really, really good chance from Gregory. A very similar breakaway to the one that we scored midweek.
Yes, very true.
Bannon feeding a great ball through to, but it was to be fair to Gregory, it's Gregory's reading of the ball that turns it into a counter attack. So again, he did a really good job. Bannon found him so well with the pass; he timed it perfectly.
Right.
But Gregory, he tried to dink it over the onrushing keeper, and he just sort of bounced it off the top of his body. Unfortunately, I did put at that moment, hope we don't live to regret that.
His first touch kind of defied him, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best first touch, and then it was kind of trying to make up for that with the remaining nibble.
So well, we'll.
I wondered. I get your point. It was a good fit from Bannon. I think it is like down from Gregory. I wonder if Bannon would have done something else.
Maybe.
I wonder if Bannon would have kind of kept taking it because we were 2-on-1.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that that probably is the time for him to pull the trigger. For him to pull the trigger in releasing Gregory, probably.
Yeah.
I wonder if Bannon would have kept going. If I'm thinking it did something else, maybe loses momentum and just goes too wide.
Yeah, it's just again, as I say, there's been moments with Gregory. I think by and large, I've been hugely impressed. I mean, it'd be churlish to be anything other than impressed by 2 goals in his first 2 sort of proper games, 2 games where he's got time. No, sorry, it's 2 and 3, isn't it? Because he did come in the for a few minutes at the end of the last one. But yeah, be churlish to be anything other than impressed. So there's lots and lots to like, and he's an absolute nuisance to be a defender against. We can tell that already. But that's 2 opportunities where you'd sort of hope your striker would be wielding away with a goal or 2 from those 2 chances. Which I think is sort of a frustration we had a couple of times with Windass, where you're like, he's 1-on-1, really. Ideally, you should probably be scoring more more often than not in those situations.
Yeah.
But it's splitting hairs in a way because he's got a couple of absolute brilliant Johnny on the spot type goals. So I'm not judging too harshly. It's just a slight note that could have made life easier a couple of times now in if he'd polished off those decent chances. There was another. Gregory got just completely shoved over by a defender. The sort of thing it's a foul every day of the week, but not given by this terrible ref on the halfway line. And then the 77th minute, a truly bizarre second goal for Wednesday. A P-roller effort from Adeniran, saved easily by the goalkeeper, who tries to sort of pull it in towards his chest but misses. And as he sort of falls to the floor to gather the ball, Gregory read it fantastically well and poked the ball between his falling backside and the floor into the net behind the keeper. Very weird from Johansson.
But on the flip side of that, how amazing is it that Gregory just had as I put
How
in
did
my
he
notes.
time it and not give a foul away? And it was his timing was unbelievably good there. It's like magic
amazing.
trick level timing when you watch it back. Because all the chances are that you give away a foul to the keeper. We've seen it so many times, but he just managed to pick that moment where it left his hands and was free and poke it home. Brilliant, really fantastic stuff. And again, we've seen in both games this week the flip side of the goalkeeper. Having a good goalkeeper has that value. Having a less than good goalkeeper costs you in these moments. So midweek, Adeniran, twice it's been Adeniran shots as well, but Adeniran has a so-so shot with his left foot. The keeper saves it to the middle of the box and Gregory pokes it home. And same with this one. Wasn't even a so-so shot. It was a bad shot. It was just a nothing effort. And a bad goalkeeper turns it into a chance for the opposition.
And then you shouldn't do that in front of Lee Gregory, who has in my notes the worrying note that I've made the predatory nous to pounce on it and stab it home.
Yes, predatory nous. Oh dear.
Great footwork from Luongo again in the build-up.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nicely built chance, definitely. I've not really got any notes between the goal and the end of the game. I just sort of put it as a fairly uneventful end to the match. Have you got?
I don't want to look and be too negative. Dunkley did a defensive header before the goal, which looked like he was going to head it into his own net with some devastating on-goal conviction.
Yes. He did it so calmly. It was worrying, weirdly. I've never seen him look so assured.
I thought it was tense from him. Like he looked like it was just, I'm going to really wang my head through this one.
Yeah.
Some kind of pithy notes. Rotherham fans chant 2-0 in your cup final with zero self-awareness. I didn't want to shag Scarlett Johansson anyway. She's probably got a venereal, say the jilted Millers fans.
Was it definitely them chanting that, or was that us chanting that?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good point.
Because we were chanting it. We did chant that to Donny.
Oh, in which case wow. What a mistake I've made her.
But we did get that lovely Scarlett Johansson quip, so maybe it's worth it regardless.
Maybe that's true. Yeah.
I'm not sure who was singing it, because it could work both ways, couldn't it? But
it could.
Yeah. I would suspect it would be because the Wednesday fans
baiting that
after going ahead, and then went very, very quiet because it was very nervy until we scored the second, and then suddenly they found their voices again, which is understandable.
Final bit at the end I enjoyed, Johansson taking out his own defender. It was sort of late the fun. That was nice. That was a little gift that keeps on giving.
Yes.
Much like Scarlett Johansson's proverbial herpes. Allegedly. And he's also called Johansson, so there we go.
Yeah. I just put sort of uneventful end to the match, with Rotherham pushing and Wednesday having some threatening breaks, but none of it really amounting to much. Because we did have the odd moment, they had the odd moment, but it wasn't really like we weren't exactly on the rack in this one. I think their better periods of the game were before that they had their
on the rack, which is what the Rotherham fans claiming Scarlett Johansson was on. That's why I didn't shag her.
Oh dear.
Sorry, I had to keep going, didn't I?
It's nice to you're on fine fettle, Luke, when you just dance across the line
and then take the ball back to do it again.
Yes.
It's a bit like I'm through on goal, Rich, and there's no defenders for ages, so I'm going to take it past the line, and then I'm going to bring it back over with my foot, get on my hands and knees, and like give it a little nudge over the line again.
In a celebration, almost certain to draw a yellow card.
What if I take my shirt off, ref? Does that 2 yellows to get? Or is it just the one? We're already 7-0 up, ref.
Oh dear. But certainly not the best performance, and we've been talking about a team that is yet to click. This was far away from a team clicking, but another big win and the end of a tough week with another clean sheet.
I know. Like what's I'm this is good stuff. I'm just giving myself a little pinch.
Did you see the stats from Dale Johnson on the clean sheets?
I did not see the stats from Dale Johnson on clean sheets. Please
regale me. So Sheffield Wednesday keep 5 clean sheets in all competitions at the start of the season for the first time in the club's history. Wow. 4 clean sheets at the start of the league season also equals the all-time record of 1981-82 and 1966-67.
Wow.
It's a very, very fine start that we are enjoying, and I think that's in spite of the fact that we've not seen everything click into place at this point. So it's hard. We've got to temper our expectations and our excitement, but it's also hard not to get slightly buoyant about the position we're in at this point in time, which happens to be top of the league,
top of the pops,
and
even top of the pops after the 3 o'clock games.
Yeah.
I was wondering whether I saw
goal difference, which keeps us ahead of Wickham and Portsmouth on +4.
Yeah, because I saw that Wickham were only 1-0 up. I wonder if I'd gone and bagged a second. You're looking quite good with your Wickham prediction, Rich.
Well, I'm going to have the same caution of these teams in the relegation zone won't be relegated. But yeah, I think it was harshly laughed at, cackled at, I would say, by a callous Luke Gledall. I think it might come to bite him on the bum in time.
Oh, thanks, Rich. Really sweet of you to do
that. So, yeah. Any other sort of final thoughts for the game before we get on to picking sort of our star man, who I think is probably going to be fairly obvious?
Is it? I think I'm going to do.
Easy.
I thought about doing a joint. I'm going to do a joint man of the match.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
A double barrel.
You have one. I think you've got one of my 2. Well, I hope so. Could be surprising me even more.
Well, it's for me. It's Peacock Farrell. This is a loss without that penalty save, and I don't think there's many goalkeepers make that save. I'm trying not to get too carried away, but he just seems like he's it's not just that we've improved on last season. I think we've got one of the better goalkeepers probably in the Football League at this point in time. A tremendous get, and he's performing as advertised.
Could say looks the absolute knackers.
But yeah, the dog's Balearics, yeah.
The dog's Balearics, indeed. No, he's one of my 2 joint man of the match. So initially, I was going to go for Massimo Luongo. For a player to come back in and even not look at the levels that I think we expect him of, and I think that he expects him of himself, and probably still has in the tank, to even have 2 saves and 2 goals as 2 second assists. To look at the sport of my compatriots, ice hockey or hockey, as I just call it here. To have those. To have those very telling saves in both goals is huge. That's a really great ball for the first goal. Yeah. Some great first ball that kind of feeds in and gives the ball to Den for his shot for the second. Saying that, I was doing that, then coming through and talking to you today just made me think that, it's such a huge turning point moment for us where Peacock Farrell makes that save. It's one of the best penalty saves I've seen from a Wednesday keeper. I can't think of any better. I'm going to be honest with you.
I think Luongo, if I'm allowed honourable mentions, Luongo and Iorfa are both fit into those honourable mentions.
Really? Okay. Well, I'm agreeing with you for Luongo. I was not impressed with the defence today, but I think that's the huge point of breaking up Iorfa and Hutchinson. Yeah. We're making so many issues for ourselves by Dunkley, and I hope having Dunkley as the second deputant, as a deputy for the centre back pairing, is going to be fine enough for us in League One for this season. But I know.
He's so unconvincing. Even when it works, it looks like it's by accident. Like that header out. That should be what a brilliant thing he did there. He took control of the situation and he just made sure. But because it's Dunkley, you're like, you're just amazed he didn't put it in his own net, because that's the sort of thing he would do. It just everything just pings off him at bizarre angles and things like that. It's just, he's a as I say, a constant worry, whether Sheffield Wednesday are playing or not. I'm worried about him bashing into things and, like some mothers do have him, causing some sort of grand scale disaster. In his day-to-day life, he opens his car door and it bashes into the next car, which bashes into the next car, and all of a sudden, there's a traffic jam or something like that. I wonder if, presumably this means that he's got that position as the second choice. I wonder how far away Lewis Gibson is. I wonder whether that's a viable option. He's left-footed.
Yeah.
Which would add a more natural balance to things.
Moore was asked about Gibson on the post-match. Said hopefully he'll be back. Hopefully he'll be another one back in contention for next week. His train this morning. Okay. We have a nice role and responsibility for when he steps into the team.
Okay.
I don't know. And this is why we pay Darren the big bucks. It's decisions like this. I don't know what I'd do. I don't know whether you rip. I mean, it was good. It was really good with just Iorfa and Hutchinson as that centre back pairing. That was fantastic. I can't remember last time for the certain level we've had a good centre back partnership. Probably we're looking back to Leuven's and Lee's.
Well, I think it's a huge testament to Hutch that he looks as, for all the praise and plaudits that Iorfa has rightly got so far, he looks as much a man apart from this division, a man better than the division he's in, as Iorfa has. He's looked that much better as well. Every bit of it, classy, competent, composed, all the rest of it. It's just a short break for him. But if it's longer term, I then hope that maybe we give Gibson a try, because it just is a worry with Dunkley. He's obviously got the physicality, but it's the fact everything is so. It's no surprise that this game suddenly we're giving away so many. We're back to Monk's thing of lots of free kicks around the area. That's appeared again on our kind of match report of something that, in our negatives, in our weaknesses. And it's no surprise because Dunkley just cannot resist. He just has to touch his opposite number. That's how he defends. The first thing he does is he puts hands on them, which is not a good way to defend. No, I thought with Iorfa, I thought he bailed us out on a fair few occasions. I thought he bossed his man fairly well. And whenever I was on the Rotherham commentary, whoever their co-commentator, their colour commentator was just heaping praise on him. He was just like, if I see another defender as good as him this season, I'll be absolutely amazed. He's just got everything. He's more than good enough for top end of the Championship, probably for the Premiership. And so lots of praise coming his way. On our wonderful pals at Owls Americas had a tweet post game about Luongo. Most touches, most passes, most tackles, most duels won, and that was his first start in 257 days. It's incredible how good he is when he gets back. It's just, we wish there was more of it. That's the Luongo issue constantly. Mm-hmm. He's always brilliant. It's just he's never there. But if we can get how many times have we said this? But if we can get a run of games from him, we'll be in a much better spot as a team. He's got so much to him, arguably on a par with Bannon in terms of his quality on his day. They're very different sort of players, more of a goal threat than Bannon generally. But the nice thing this season is the fortunes of Wednesday will not rest on the availability of Massimo Luongo in the way that they've done in previous seasons, because we've got other options, not the same, but other options for those positions, which is a really good place to be. A very positive weekend, a weird, disjointed performance.
Yeah.
And a huge portion of luck coming our way, but a positive end to a positive week.
Very much so. I mean, I know this is the thing. Like we're getting results. We've got 10 from 12.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't conceded a goal. We've scored like 5 goals in 4 games. This is very on Wednesday-like.
And we've got a week to get players fit,
up and running, playing
before the next
minutes. We just look like, I don't know, like what gear are we in now? It looks like we haven't got out first.
Yeah.
And we're doing this so far. It's scary. It's scary how good we are and how good we're doing in this division. Like it will things. I'm sure we'll have upsets, and I'm sure we'll concede goals, and I'm sure we'll lose games. But it just doesn't look like happening right now. And it just looks like we can just improve and kick on. Really,
I think the nice thing is you can comfortably say, I think we've got enough to take on anyone in the division.
Yeah.
And if the first roll and we're also in the lucky position where if the first roll of the dice doesn't work, we've got nice options to change games as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nice to be able to say that. We've not had that luxury for a number of years. The tough games do keep coming. I mean, I think Morecambe are fairly well liked and fancied in terms of like booking, things like that. They've got some firepower at the very least. And then we've got Sunderland visiting, so it's a bit of a run. We do play Newcastle United in the middle there. I don't know what that team's going to look like. Do they still have the silly rules in the Johnson's paint about the X amount of the starting lineup from the previous game playing? Do you remember?
Well, you can't though, because it's an under-23s game, right?
No, it's
that can't be
under 23s. That's our first team.
Oh, I know, but like that's probably that's grossly unfair, though. Yeah, I remember the whole Megson thing with, I'm going to start.
It was Weaver.
He started Weaver, and then he subbed him off for Rich O'Donnell, wasn't
it? yeah. And he looked like the cat that got the cream. It was very funny. I think we were investigated for that, but we didn't. But we didn't. There was no fine or anything against us. But anyway, have a good positive end to things this week, and onwards and upwards. So I'm going to say best of luck through the week, Luke, and best of luck to folks at home, and look after yourselves. We continue to live in a unforgiving hellscape, so look after yourself. That's all you can do. And cheerio.
Thanks, Rich. Have a good week, everybody. Bye-bye.